Session at 3:37. Make sure your cell phones are off. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business, lodging tax ordinance. This is continued from September 26th. Who wants to start off on that? I know we talked about it at first on 6%. After having all the motels here.
Right.
So, legal counsel, is this draft that we're looking at, he's not here to
Right.
tell us or not, but do you know, is this got the inclusion on what KK was talking about before on those that show them a form that say they're exempt from paying taxes as federal agents,
It does not have
police,
that in.
doesn't have it in
No.
that, so
I don't
nothing's
know
really
that
different from
that's
this compared to, well, KK described that it had to be in your local ordinance to throw that rule out. They couldn't just get away with not paying taxes.
Right.
And, I thought we asked that that would be included in
In
this,
this one.
regardless of the percentage.
Mhm.
And so I wouldn't be comfortable approving this until at least that draft language has been reviewed by us.
So,
Um,
Art, tell me exactly how you want that worded or what you're.
Well, it just needs to be concrete that, and,
I think
legal counsel
he
needs
gave
to
us the
make sure.
documentation that is used in Siskiyou County, I believe,
So
California.
you don't accept those?
Well, it directs, when
waivers?
a tenant comes in or someone who's renting a room comes in and says that they are exempt from the tax, the lodger's tax, then he can hand them the form, and I understand they bring it to town hall. Is that whoever the government is that's administering the lodger's tax, whether it be the county or the town?
not at night.
No, they have to present it, I think, within a certain time probably, or something to give a refund, is what it added up to. That's what I recall the notice that he gave us said.
Well, and
Because
from
it's
what I
supposed
heard,
to.
the problem with that is a lot of people have false documents. And they honor those because they don't want them leaving and going next door. That sounds to me like our motel people ought to get together and say, look, let's make an agreement. If we think it's fraudulent, we don't accept it. And if they leave,
But
you're
some,
not going to
right.
accept it.
but some are probably correct and some are not, is what it also seemed like. Not all of them are fraudulent, some might be, some might not be, but ultimately what those other communities are doing is they're making a town ordinance that says, look, you're not exempt from that lodger's tax.
I agree
And
with
so,
that.
as long as we're going to adopt, whether it's 2,
Let's
4,
add
6%, it has to be in this ordinance. I don't wanna waste time and do it in a separate process. This
In order for anyone to receive a
Yeah,
refund.
because nobody should be doing it. KK was like,
Yeah.
you're gonna get pretty much double what you're getting right now. Well, double of zero is still zero, so the county could possibly do more, but,
But, and that's something we could do is we could, when we get to that point, make a motion, we could approve it with that
That
amendment.
inclusion
And
on the
then have
final
to make
draft.
sure that that's, that's just an option that we could do that.
Well,
So-
I would think that, like Darwin says, we should have the attorney include that. I think it should be included if it does help the lodgers. I think we should help them in whatever fashion we can. And so if we could have that included in the final draft, I think it would be good to have that.
I talked with Ann Cromine, treasurer for the county, earlier today, and she said that she spoke with you. I'm not sure if you want to do a report on that conversation you had, but I like the numbers, at least what she said.
Right, right.
Leave
And
that up to you since you talked to her first.
if you want to talk about it, you can, and then I can fill in.
Well,
the
sure,
answer either way.
so Ann mentioned to me that the county gets, for the Lakeview area, roughly 24,000 and change per quarter. So that's, roughly speaking, $100,000. And as Commissioner Kestner said, and as we know, most of that money is going right back to the chamber, if not, the high majority. And then whatever else the county's been doing with it. I don't have those, I'm not gonna speak to that, but it's being handled appropriately, as I trust Ann in all that she does. So, and that's 6%, that's what the county's is. So if we were to do that, if we were to do 6%, roughly that's $100,000, that 70% would need to go to tourism, as the state law dictates, and then 30% could stay here. I am forgetting the 5% of that 100% that they collect would go back to those businesses. We've talked about all this before, but just to summarize what we've discussed. So really, I think this all comes down to, are we comfortable, at least in my opinion, are we comfortable adding a tax that ultimately is paid by those transient people coming through for business or tourism or other related activities? The majority of residents of Lakeview are not the ones staying in the hotels. You don't have a home or property in town and then stay in a hotel. So if we're trying to promote tourism, which I think we should, which ultimately leads to better businesses within the community, a lodger tax seems to make sense to me. Every community has these. Surprisingly, Lakeview doesn't. I've only been on for a couple of years, but it's something that Mike's had on his mind for a long time. County obviously has been doing it, but that also covers the other areas within the county unincorporated communities. Probably Paisley has some kind of lodging up there that they're getting some of this tax for. I personally think that what Mike has said before, when we talk about setting up a committee, and then that committee then discusses how that 70% is spent, would be a good idea. Regardless of the percentage, I think the percentage, to me, it may seem high to go 6, 2 seems too low, 4 seems obviously in the middle, but I personally have heard the arguments, just like the rest I think have been here when they heard the hotel folks come in. I don't think for a second that people are going to continue on to Alturas or any other community. If they need to stay here, they are staying here. And so, everybody's used to paying tax at places. I think, although I'm for less tax, less government, this money isn't just getting blown. This money is getting back to, if set up through a committee, it could get spent very wisely to help on a lot of different projects for this community. Again, not monies being spent by those who live here. Now, you might have a family member or two that comes and stays, for whatever event, graduations, birthdays, anniversaries, whatever, or just, the fair or some things like that. But when you think of a hotel being $100 average, let's take another $6 that would get redistributed throughout the community to help in certain, community tourism projects, or which ultimately, to me, tourism to me is anything related to business, development or sustainability or whatever it might be. I think it's a win for the community, personally. I'll leave it at that.
Well, I know when I travel, and, the tax and stuff, I really don't pay that much attention to the tax.
It's gonna be there no matter what. If you wanna stay there, that's.
Well, that's just it,
Stay in someplace like Vegas. They not only hit you with the ones that you know you were gonna have, they all of a sudden say, oh, but now we have this new tax that they collect personally for the hotels. So, yeah, I don't think it's, huh?
Resort fees.
Yeah, resort
Yeah,
fee, whatever they call it, but it's another way to gouge you another $15-20 basically. And so I don't think that the amount is there. I am concerned about, and I really think we ought to have that as part of the ordinance for the, nobody is exempt, but there's paperwork if you want to apply to have your reimbursement of $6 or whatever it is, then here's what you do. And then we can time, that's an extra paperwork load. But frankly, I don't know how many people were, Forest Service people, excuse this expression, it shouldn't be on tape. pretty cheap. And so they might, but, you know, if they've given me this reason and I can get exempt, I'm gonna think, I'm not gonna fill out that stuff for $6. I'm fine. So I don't know how that would work, but I'd like to see it in here. The other thing on this, and this is my opinion and my opinion only, we've got that 30% that stays. And it may be a part of what we could do for tourism, but it may also be setting that 30% and saying, let's establish something that we can upgrade our parks, upgrade our swimming pool, fix what's ever wrong down at the little kids' parks, that they're not looking like they're running around in sewage water, because it's pretty ugly out there some days. So I'd like to, I want to put that or in now, that if we do get this, and that 30%, we kind of earmark it for something that we desperately need to do, and my first thing would be the park system.
So just using those numbers, that's roughly 30,000 a year, and our park budget's nowhere near that right now for the actual parks. Now, the swimming pool obviously is costing more than that, and we're losing more than that per year.
But everything needs upgraded. I mean,
Exactly.
you're down there that one
Oh,
across
yes,
the street,
yeah,
it's
I
just
hear you.
awful.
There's a lot of need.
And again, to me, this is a tax on people who are not our residents, so I don't see what it would negative.
I love that.
One of the questions that the attorney had asked me to find out from Ann also was the time commitment for staff to do, you know, all the distributions and that type of thing. And she said really, they spend about 7 hours each quarter. It's more of a reminder for the people to, you know, the motels and stuff to put in, you know, send their money in. But she said it wasn't all that much. And, you know, the same with the taxing. I mean, it's not that hard to do. They adopted theirs, you know, long before anybody did, or the state did, and so they designated theirs. They pay part, they're paying like up at North Lake, like part of the disaster units, the fairgrounds, but you have to designate what you're gonna do with it, and that's where this committee can come in and say, you know, and I had written down just some ideas on, you know, parks and pools, of course, but some different things, but if it would help enhance the tourism side of our community, you know, that would, the parks, people come through, there's,
The
you know.
people that stop across from me it's just amazing. And they stop, of course, the tables are there, and they can eat, and they do take their dogs in. But the restrooms, and those restrooms, I don't know if any of you guys have been in one of those lately, but they're borderline pathetic.
But you know, even those doggy bags, you know, those things where you have it.
And
it's
that would be
those little
something we
things.
could do. I mean, it says no dogs allowed,
But
which nobody pays any attention to. But if you had the little doggy bag things, maybe that would help. I don't know.
But, you know, I think that committee, I mean, we need to do that. I think
We can become a tourist-friendly community at the same time we're charging tourist lodgers tax.
I like that.
So Darwin, you're saying we go ahead and stay with the 6%?
Well, you know, that's up to you guys. I mean, all of us, not you guys, but all of us. And I'm comfortable with that. You know, I know that our motels, and we don't have, I don't think we have a report yet on what Klamath or Burns or Lapine or Alturas are charging. I still want those numbers. I still think legal counsel needs to look at this one more time. I hate putting it off, but I don't feel comfortable adopting this. And also, I'll have to say it, you know, I don't know if anywhere in here talks about really that committee. I don't remember seeing it. I think that should be part of it. I mean, or at least some reference to it when we adopt, so it's understood that, and who those committee members may be, you know. A member from the chamber, a member from, you know, at-large people from other businesses in the community would be great. You know, the council, at least a member or two, that would form that committee. Because, and I really would love to see, you know, like you brought up the committee idea from another committee that we researched. And
I can get some.
yeah, I'd like to just have more of that information before next meeting, because, I mean, truly, I'm comfortable going less than 6%. But I want to see I definitely want to see what Klamath is, what Burns is, what Lapine, what our neighboring communities are. So it's easier to justify that, hey, we're not going way
We're not
above what
being
those
excessive.
communities are. We don't want to get, look, we definitely don't want to shed bad light on our communities and, oh, they're just tax happy, they're gonna just, tax everybody to death when they come to the community. That's anti-tourism, right? So, but also with what the committee would do is, there's got to be flyers in my mind down at the hotels that show what these monies are being spent for. And it could be a simple laminated one-pager that just says, hey, in 2017, these are the projects that your hotel tax went to. And it could be simple, but it gives people, they might still be ticked, but I think a lot of people would be like, cool, that's great, I'm glad you did
It's
that.
not going.
And so it's just a little more transparent that says, hey, this went, in our 30%, we could easily say, hey, it went to the parks. When we put new equipment down at the parks, we could just put a simple little plaque on it that says partially paid for by a lodging tax. And then people, when they drive through town, even if they don't stay in a hotel, they're like, maybe next time we'll stay because we can see that they're doing good things with this money. So,
When you talk about this committee, then I don't know if I'm real comfortable staying in the ordinance what the makeup would be, but I think we would have guidelines for that, for sure. And I don't know if it's appropriate here or not, maybe our legal counsel, because I think that it needs to be set correctly for that. But do you anticipate like an application process, like you say to the community, we have an
in the past, that's what
application,
I've
so
seen.
like chamber would apply,
I don't want just one organization
no,
getting all the money.
I don't think we do it all, but then I ask you because I'm on that cultural coalition, and we have like somewhere rounded off around $7,000 a year to put out, and we get the same people every year applying for it because nobody else does, and we have articles in the newspaper, we have word of mouth, we do all kinds of things, and mostly people don't apply. They just, and I've told people, didn't you say you needed such and such? And says, well, yeah. I said, well, why didn't you apply? I didn't think it applied to me. Well, so I'm a little leery of how well that will work, but we'll have to make it work. But
Well, as long
have you
as,
got any input from any more of your members on this?
Well, the ones that we've talked to, definitely wanted a 2 or 3%. I mean, when we talked about it at our board meeting, we decided to take the stance with our members at a 3% that we could get behind, and we could join with you and help you, and keep our members happy as well at the same time. We want it to all work together and be able to have our hotel members happy as well as the rest of the town and still be in support of the town. So we discussed at our board meeting and decided that we could stand with our members and with you at 3% on the hotel tax. That's our stance. But
So if we did 6%, you wouldn't come ask for the other 30%?
Only a gunpoint.
Yeah, we feel like 3% is a good, a good amount to even to start with. Obviously, it's, not our decision, but we do want to stand with our members.
Did you consider going to the county and asking them to reduce theirs by 3% so the town of Lakeview to take the 6% that it actually has coming from the facility?
No. We have
Did you
not.
even discuss that? Well, see, that should have been discussed.
well, we're
Because you're
not,
talking with monies from two different facilities.
I would applaud that but Darwin's right. What does Lapine charge? Maybe not Ben, because, he knows what they charge. but
Alturas is
Lapine-
7.25.
Yeah,
plus sales
But they
tax.
also have California.
That's combined tax, is what I found out today. So
Combined
that's
Oh,
combined
tax
tax
and
is lodging tax, is 7.25%. So that's all tourists.
California has a sales tax.
You're saying that,
California has a sales tax that's on there as well as a lodger's tax.
So their
you're
combined
up-
lodger's tax was 7.25.
Yeah,
Combined
yeah,
with
but then
city
you
and
had the
county.
city tax,
Yeah.
and then, and you're up to,
There's
way
no-
above what we're thinking
well,
about.
their sales
Way
tax
above.
somewhere probably around 7.
Well, no, if it's
8%.
combined between city and county, we'd be
So-
12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But without the
Plus the
sales
state,
tax,
plus
you're
the state
still,
at 1.9.
We're lucky without the sales tax,
Yeah.
not to have that, but they're not gonna go on to help us to pay more.
So that's what I found, I mean, that's
But
just what I found out, and I did
I think
filter
we
us.
need to know what towns around us are charging so that we know if that's fair or not. And if it's not fair, then we need to reassess it. If it is fair, then we need to talk to, the motel people and say, look, this is what's fair in our geographical.
Well, and they came the other day when you guys were here as well,
Mm-hmm.
and their thoughts were, we were double dipping. The town has no revenues whatsoever, as Darwin said, double, zero is zero, so
And I'm,
we're not double dipping by any means.
I'm okay with you guys not going back, and asking the county to take less, even though your members are saying 3%. Mainly because.
Well, I don't think you should do that either. I think that 12% is a justifiable measure, and I think that we have just as much right to 6% as the county does. That's,
But we're not proposing giving all the money to, as the county does, all the money to.
no, not at all.
Oh, no.
actually,
No, they did
when we
not
were
give
in the
them.
board meeting, we discussed the fact, somebody said something about the possibility of money coming to the chamber, and we're not after that whatsoever. We're not after any of it.
Yeah. You're managing just fine with the budget that you're working.
Yeah.
And that's good, but I would be curious, would you guys be willing to sit on a committee if we were to form one with whether it be 2, 3, 4, 6%, would you guys be willing to kind of see how these monies do get distributed?
I would, I mean, if it's voted in at 6%, I still feel like I can talk to our members, our hotel members, about where it's going at least. I mean,
If you have
I feel
some
like I can help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talk to our members, since they did come to the chamber in the first place and ask us, to be present and to be with them. We feel like it's definitely, what we should do to be on their side, and with the 3%. Because, when they came in at the last meeting, none of them had said to me either that they don't think that there should be that the town shouldn't have one. They just think it should be less. So they were fighting for less than 6%. They didn't want to compete at a higher, hotel tax. They were just saying 6% is a lot. They wanted something smaller. So when we discussed it at our board meeting, felt like 3% was doable for us to stand with our members. We also feel like the town should be a part of that as well. We don't think you should get nothing. We think you should get something. The hotels are in our town and your town council, and I do believe the money would go well, but it would be easier for us if we did sit on some kind of committee to be able to talk to our members and tell them, at least where it's going and that we're involved in it. I think that would be helpful.
I also, and I don't know if this is what you meant, and I misunderstood it or not, but I don't think we want to say to any organization that works with tourists, no, you're not going to get any money from us. That's not the deal. I would think that if something came up that the chamber said, look, we've got a special deal going here and we're applying for sales. And I want that to be real clear, that they're not knocked out simply because they are.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not the only ones who get dollars from the counties.
Well, it makes you think I want to sit by you.
There's like, I think, at least 3 entities. I'm not sure who, I know the.
I'm
North
guessing
Lake,
from the numbers, and I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here, so, Darwin came in at a number about 100,000.
100,000 for the lake.
Our budget, what we get from them, we're budgeting about 65. That falls in line with probably the 70% that's spent on tourism, and then the other 30% goes to all those other entities. I'm just guessing at that.
I thought they took that 70% and did it, and that 30%.
So we might be
kind of
getting,
sort
the
of-
chamber might be getting less than the 70%, but it's around that fits there.
Well, and the way it was set up years ago, it was different. It wasn't mandatory like it is now, where the new law that's just gone into effect is the 30/70, so that is a little bit different than it was.
So, where are we?
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I think, again, we need to know what the other communities have. We want legal counsel to add some language, and then we still need to have this on a different, I'm not ready to adopt it. If you guys want to vote on it.
No,
that's fine with me.
No, let's,
I think we table it
I want
again.
that in there.
Absolutely.
let's get that in there, and let's get a committee formed.
However, I would like this done, if we were gonna adopt any number, I would like it done to start, be effective, and I don't know, I mean, it takes 30 days, so I'd like to go to effective January 1, so that all hotels are able to say, look, January 1, bookkeeping purposes, we're starting.
Okay, well, and I'll make sure
It
that's
doesn't give us
done.
much time to determine it, but
So 2 weeks, our next work session, right before
we should have
council.
answers by then.
Yeah, we'll have it. Okay.
Okay?
So are we tabling this?
Yeah.
We'll close, work session at 4:03.